Hello, my name is Tom Ongwere. I'm here representing my co-authors, Erik, Patrick, James, and Connelly. Today I'm presenting our work on translating a DCC Care Model into a Conceptual Tool, a DCC Ecosystem, a case study with a design team. So I'm going to have a structured presentation where I talk about our motivation for this work, study design, design sprints, and conclude with design opportunities. So as you may have noticed from our title, we talk about discordant chronic comorbidities. So what comes to my mind whenever I talk about this is simply multiple chronic diseases. In this situation, I want to think about a disease as a long-lasting disorder. It can be controlled but not cured. Thus, a patient with a chronic disease is encouraged to adhere to recommended self-care practices and become independent in their healthcare management. Globally, there are approximately 3 in 4 adults suffering from multiple chronic diseases. And I want to focus, though, on one aspect of multiple chronic diseases, which is discordant chronic comorbidities. A discordant chronic condition have unrelated or contradicting care treatment plans. For example, depression or arthritis is discordant to type 2 diabetes. A DCC need to be addressed concurrently, yet they are associated with conflicting treatment instructions, as you can see from the definition, and that work is fully covered as referenced in your screen. So in our prior work, we have explored multiple questions when it comes to understanding the challenges living with the DCCs, looking at technologies that can help patients navigate through their care when they are trying to manage their DCCs. So we had a series of research questions that we have been able to explore. For example, how can technology help patients with the DCCs to prioritize their treatment and communicate with multiple healthcare providers? We looked at patients' perspectives and we published that work. So in our paper, Design Hotspots for Care of Discordant Chronic Comorbidities, Patients' Perspectives, we engaged the same question and talked with healthcare providers, and we published that work in our paper, A Comparison of Providers and Patients' Perspectives. We then came up with another set of research questions that we navigated. How can design help patients with the DCCs set goals, navigate their situation during time of crisis, during time of change, and when their symptoms are stable? Most particularly, what is an appropriate and effective structure for navigating through the care and treatment of type 2 diabetes and DCCs? Through the exploration of these questions, we were able to propose a conceptual care model, which is a DCC model. So this model suggests tools to support patients with the DCCs in every stage of their care management. For example, there is a need for a tool to support them in a single stage. There is a need for a tool to support them to transition between care stages, and need for a tool to simplify complexities that they experience, and also need for tools to coordinate these multiple healthcare providers. This work is also being presented in one of the sessions of this same conference. Please attend that conference for further details of a DCC model or read through our paper. So I would like to talk about our design process. So as mentioned in those prior studies, we were able to use the findings of those studies to explore the design space and to implement this, to explore the design space. And also we came up with a set of questions that helped us to implement this exploration. We had two specific design questions. Design question 1, how might a patient use this conceptual design to design idea to set goals and navigate their situation during the time of crisis, during the time of change, and when their symptoms are stable? And if implemented, will this design help patients prioritize their treatment and communicate with their healthcare providers? So the second design question was mostly used by the researcher for reflection purposes, to reflect the ideas that are suggested by the design experts. To conduct this study, we recruited 5 design experts, and I will be using a design team and design experts interchangeably, but they mean the same thing. So one of the design experts is a head of design and people's experience in an international IT company based here in the USA. The other is a senior research designer in a top IT company also here in the United States. 3 other experts are user experience researchers and designers. We gave experts the scenario. The scenario depicts the daily life of a patient living with discordant chronic comorbidities. This scenario includes conflicting treatment plans that these patients get, the challenges coordinating multiple healthcare providers that they see, and also the challenges prioritizing treatment and symptoms that they experience. Another aspect that was highlighted in the scenario, please I'll refer you to the paper for the detailed description of the scenario, is interacting multiple conditions. The scenario was also further followed up with a probe, and the probe emphasizes on the important aspects of the scenario that we as designers see and want experts to take into consideration. These include type 2 diabetes and DCCs, includes also interacting conditions that they have mentioned above, and the needs to set and monitor their situation and how to improve, and also a very important need for communication. So we set up with a design sprint approach. So the idea of design sprint was first introduced by Google Ventures to tackle critical business problems and design viable solutions within 5 days. A design sprint often consists 5 stages, which include understand, diverge, decide, prototype, and validate. So because of limited time and resources in this study, we did not have full time and resources and engineers to build a prototype. We set out to complete the first 3 stages. In the first design sprint, which is understand, we focused on introducing participants to the care needs of patients with the DCCs and creating a journey map for patients' actions. A journey map is a visualization of a process that a person goes through in order to accomplish a goal. In design sprint 2, which is diverge, we explored several potential design strategies and tools for DCCs and DCC care and support. We then narrowed our focus and explored a conceptual ecosystem in the third design sprint, which is decide. Each subsequent design sprint was dependent on the activities of a previous design sprint. I also would like to iterate that design sprint 1 had 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Please look through the paper for further details about these designs. So these designs were, as mentioned, are guided by the two design questions. Design question 1 and design question 2, as mentioned before, and also still viewable in your screen. The first author facilitated each design sprint, which lasted for 60 to 90 minutes. Each design sprint was initiated by icebreaker, followed by a presentation. For the case of design sprint 1, part A, where I did an introductory presentation. So design sprint 1, part B, design sprint 2, and design sprint 3 were started by a reflection and then a probe to make sure that the participants are still kept on focus on design problem. I'm going to highlight each of these design sprints and also talk about the findings. Again, for further details about the processes that we used in each of these design sprints, I would like to refer you to our paper. In design sprint 1, part A, the researcher and participants highlighted problems and pain points they found to be prominent and that should be addressed. I just want to reiterate on this. I know I mentioned it before. So in part B, a researcher and participants reflected on the identified pain points. So we know that in part A, we identified the pain points. In part B, which was another meeting, we had to reflect on those pain points. And then after that reflection, we were able to create a journey map, and this journey map shows the patients and provider interaction and this interactions in the scenario. The participants used the journey map to emphasize on the pain points in the patient's care process and to ensure that there is a continuity in their view of DCC care needs. They also discussed technologies and other design ideas that could support the patient in navigating their care process. So these are some of the ideas or the results of design sprint 1. So we know that we've talked about the needs of patients with DCCs that were found to be prevalent. So these needs occur during patients' clinical encounters, or during data collection and sharing, or during treatment decision making and implementation of those treatment plans. The figure, as you can see in the screen, emphasizes on the moments of a patient's life and barriers that they face and solutions to those barriers. For example, communication was identified, mood swings as seen in also the accept conflicting and overwhelming treatment plans, and medication. So another result that we found, as discussed before, was the journey map. And the journey map, as mentioned, is a visual, the experts saw it as a visual presentation of a process that a patient with DCCs go through in order to get help. These processes include patient symptoms, patient's treatment plans, patient's interaction with the healthcare system, and barriers affecting those interactions, and finally, support strategies and tools to help a patient navigate their care. So for design sprint 2, as mentioned, I just want to reiterate on it so that we have a focus. Design sprint 2, we expanded and reflected on the problems and the pain points and interactive solutions for DCC care and support. Support themes that were identified in design sprint 1, part A and part B. So we discussed together with the participants how addressing DCC issues requires engaging multiple patients in multiple different ways, engaging patients in multiple different ways, and patients need to be proactive for it to be effective. Some strategies may work for one patient, but others may not work for other patients. So here we show DCC Care Support Resources that were identified by the participants. So these resources include tools to visualize and communicate patient symptoms, shared decision aid tools, tools to flag conflicts and treatment plan interactions, models to combine and moderate the operation of the care tools. So in Design Sprint 3, participants considered 2 ways to design for DCC needs. One way that they thought about was to focus on a single stage for DCC care and build a tool for that stage. A second way consisted of mapping an ecosystem to address the care of patients with the DCCs. Because of multiple things, things need to be considered when caring for DCCs. All participants agreed to focus on the design for ecosystem. Designing an ecosystem for DCCs involves participants taking different tools and learning how to put them together to address the individual needs of patients with DCCs. Participants discuss how each of these parts may fit together. So here we show an example of an ecosystem that the participants envisioned this tool to look like. So this ecosystem has some components, and these components include patients being placed at the center of a support network. It also includes tools to help patients set and prepare for doctor's appointments, and the models to guide patient-doctor discussion and goal-setting processes, and tools to evaluate the progress of patients. So as you may see in the screen, there is a combination of tools that they did put together. So I would like to discuss the design opportunities out of this work. So we have 3 major design opportunities, but because of time, I will only discuss 2. Please look through our paper for detailed discussion of these items. So as you may see that we provide a reflection on how we designed with experts, or our experience working with expert designers over several design sessions. So what we did not mention in this presentation today, which is fully demarcated or mentioned in the paper, is this process included several iterations, included revisiting the design questions, scenarios, and patients' pain points and prior design ideas. So the process requires high level of discipline, patience, and time. So future work should explore and reflect best practices for working with experts through iterative design process. In particular, future research should explore the following: how might we ensure all participants have opportunity to participate? How might we keep our participants focused on the current design problem when designs evolve? How might we agree on when a design work is done? And how should a participants' design contributions be acknowledged? So another item that we see is that we reported in this work is combining multiple systems to form an ecosystem could be a challenge. So future work is needed to explore how to address this engineering challenge and how to make theoretical concepts adaptable to technology. So we also provide how machine learning can play a role in that process. I would like to thank my co-authors for this for their support and this wonderful work. Thank you.